Okay, great. Thank you all for being here. Today is Thursday, December 11th. We are here for our policy committee meeting. And as always, we are going to begin with policies for first reading. We have policy 709, student transportation safety policy, which will be replacing our 3150 and 3160 from our 3000 series. And I'll just read the purpose of this policy is to provide safe transportation for students and to educate students on safety issues and the responsibilities of school bus ridership. And we highlighted throughout the policy is some of the, in yellow is some of the changes, and I understand, Simone, you're going to share some updates with us, or just walk us through it?
Yes, thank you very much. Transportation Manager Jeremy Casapidis has reviewed this, and we did not make too many changes. On page number there? So under section 3, conduct on school buses and consequences for misbehavior, there was a change that all school bus stop misconduct will be reported to the school district's transportation manager, removing the word safety director. And then further down, under 4, so here 4A under consequences, Jeremy recommended that we added these consequences are outlined in the student handbook, just so it aligns together. See the table of contents under transportation of public school students to find the exact page. And then under section 5, school bus driver duties and responsibilities, capital letter A. He just added an or there and removed or C. So a driver must have a valid Class A or B driver's license. Further down, under section 7, operating rules and procedures, number 2, only students assigned to the school bus by the transportation office shall be transported, removing school district. So just narrowing it down to the transportation office. And further down to section 8, under school district emergency procedures, capital letter D, medical notes shall be maintained on the school bus for students. So I know that is happening. Section 10, X10. So here he inserted school board has designated the transportation manager instead of an individual to serve as the school district school transportation safety director. So currently we do have what they're calling the safety hazard committee, and we have one school board member on there, Jeremy's on there, and a representative from Voyager. We would love it if another board member wanted to attend. And they review, I'm sorry, Member Banks, Henry Banks. So they are going through and reviewing potential hazards or current stops in the city. For instance, I think you've seen in an email too, we have like some concerned parents regarding different stops. So at that time, they're bringing it to this committee to review, the stop signs. Sometimes the stop gets moved to across the street when they we're technical, they used to drive on the other side, but, routes have changed, and of course, more efficiency. We want it to be as safe as possible for the student. And sometimes we have families that do challenge that when stops have been moved. And that's about it. There's 14 pages. So there weren't too many changes, just some updates. The one thing I read through this carefully today, the last, so is that 11? Yeah, Student Transportation Safety Hazard Committee. It says the school board may establish a student Student Transportation Safety Hazard Committee, which we have. The chair of the Student Transportation Safety Committee is the school district school transportation safety director. I just thought these were a lot of words. The school board shall appoint the other members of the Student Transportation Safety Hazard Committee. Is everyone okay with that paragraph? I just thought when I read that today, just.
I think it sounds okay.
Okay.
My question would be, the chair of the Student Transportation Safety Committee is the school district's transportation safety, is it transportation manager?
Yes.
We should change the wording there.
Okay, that's a great idea. Maybe that's what I was looking for and I couldn't see it.
Yeah.
So, yes, that would be the second paragraph,
So
or
that
excuse me, the second sentence. Instead of safety director, safety manager. And membership may include parents, school bus drivers, representatives of school bus companies, which we have, local law enforcement officials, other school district staff, and representatives from other units of local government.
And it says may, so.
May.
Yeah.
Yes.
One other clarification, then I'll open it up for other board members. If we were to add, I don't think we have to put it in the policy to add a second board member, but we could put that on our assignments in January.
I'd love that. That'd be great.
Okay. I see Member Michaelsell and then Member Lofold, and I'm sorry, I don't know which one was first, but that's okay. You can go.
Okay. On the topic of that last section, Section 11, the Student Transportation Safety Hazard Committee, which is how we have it in our current draft that we're reviewing right now. When I look to see the state statute that that's pulled from, so that's Minnesota State Statute 123B.88, they don't use the word hazard in their discussion of a pupil transportation safety committee, so I don't know if it's just old language. So I just wanted to point that out. And I had asked a question via email prior to the meeting about, I forget, what did I ask? I asked about the hazard transportation aid.
Yes?
And so when looking at that committee structure in state statute, that committee is also able to then look for hazardous bus stops because of like busy roads and different other infrastructure problems. And as a school district, we're then able to ask for additional funding to, if we have to route kids on buses when they normally would be in a walking area. And so that committee also handles those kind of discussions as well. Is that something that?
Yes. So when I dug into that as well, and I did look at that statute, so really, when you bring, the word hazard really shows up in our LTFM, so Finance 379. So if there are physical hazards that can be repaired, we would get the money through LTFM and not necessarily through transportation aid. I went back several years, and because right away I was said we don't get hazard transportation aid. I wanted to make sure I was not incorrect, and we've never received that money. But we can get money through LTFM. However, we can't fix a city road or street, so we'd have to request that from the city.
Right.
Yeah.
Could we, though, request funding if it's a student that lives closer than 0.7 miles to an elementary school or a mile to a high school? and we decide that we need to bus because that committee determines that their bus location is in a hazardous spot or there's hazardous conditions around it, and so we then have to pay to have them bused?
We would not request aid for that. We would
Okay.
just make the change.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right, good to know.
But I will say, every August, I have to prepare quite an extensive report for MDE, for the Transportation Department. The transportation manager sends the miles and how many vehicles we have, and that information then, I pull information from Skyward, and we divide it by how many drivers we've had and what our salaries and benefits were, and we do an average there, and all that information gets sent to MDE. So if we have an increased mileage over last year or decrease, they will ask us that question, why are you routing less children? And, our aid can be dependent on that too. So if we added additional routes, there is a potential for getting some more money.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just a follow-up to the having hazard in there. We added it so it would be consistent with our other. Okay,
I think it's a good idea to have it in there. Thank you.
okay, thank you. Member Lofold?
So looking at the section that we're looking at, the last one, number 11, when I first read this, I thought it was asking us to put a student on this committee, that it is a student transportation. And so I like the state statute uses pupil. That's a little bit more specific as far as, it is not we're not asking to put a student on the transportation committee. So I don't know why you even need student in there. It could just be a transportation safety hazard. Why do we have student in there? I mean, because that's what we have on there?
I think because it's through transportation, it's not
Okay,
adult transportation, so I think you're just clarifying that.
okay. I think it's confusing, but,
Yeah, well, but if you look through the policy, student is used throughout the policy, so it does, yeah, even, just in 10, right above there, I think student is used a couple times. So I think it's consistent. Yeah.
I just think it makes it sound like we're
I-
asking a student to be on the committee.
I see what you're saying. Thank you.
Would it be clearer to maybe call it the transportation of students? Instead of student transportation of students committee? I don't know.
I like the word pupil, but it's okay. We know the intent of the policy, and if somebody has a question about it, we have an answer. It's not students on this committee.
Yeah.
Or it's not asking to put a student. Because where does it talk a little bit about the Safety Hazard Committee? Is it in number 10? Or did you just mention it when you reviewed number 10?
It's in number 11.
I know it is in 11, but if that's the first time it's mentioned for the Safety Hazard Committee, because is that a new committee for this, for us, or is it state statute for a committee? Or we've always had it?
We've always had it, but
not
as to my understanding, it hadn't been active for years,
Okay,
and they
okay,
just reactivated it.
okay.
And again, I think student transportation safety is used kind of throughout that language.
I like that it refers to in number 8, that medical notes shall be maintained on the school bus. Is that new?
It is not new. Loosely, it was said a couple years ago, well, we used to keep the IEPs on the bus. Well, we don't keep the IEPs on the bus. We do keep a medical note if there is a student with a medical issue. So then the bus driver can react appropriately.
Okay,
Thank you for
Member
mentioning this.
Member Micasell?
On the medical note question, that just seems like a very specific title. Is there a definition somewhere that people know, like what information needs to be kept on the bus for students who need to have that information shared with the bus driver or anyone else who might be on the bus?
a good question.
I just wasn't sure if it needed to be like more clear and like what that should include if there was a student that had special needs that would possibly need to be addressed.
They would keep it, I know it's kept in a file on the bus. I can't answer that. I'd have to ask.
Okay. And then I actually have a second question unrelated. I noticed just a little bit ago when some of the other active transportation safety training sections talk about like pedestrian safety, bicycle safety, including relevant traffic laws, and then electric assisted bicycle safety. I know we have our Safe Routes to School coordinator who does a lot of work, and then also our new safety coordinator as well. Have they had an opportunity to review any of those things to make sure those are meeting like what we, the education that we're providing students throughout the year?
My guess, the answer is no.
Okay,
Good. I can share it.
okay, that'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Member
No.
Lofold, Member Michael, do you have another question? Okay, okay. Any other questions or comments? Superintendent Magus? Okay,
No, I don't have this. Sorry, I was looking to unmute, but no questions.
okay. Thank you. So this, again, is for the first reading. And so there's opportunity if there is any other questions or comments.
I will bring back answers.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great. Thank Jeremy for his review on this and his work in reestablishing that committee. Okay, thank you. Policy, and again, that's replacing 3150 and 3160. The next is policies for second reading, and we have policy 905, which we had the first reading last month. The purpose of 905 advertising, the purpose of this policy is to provide guidelines for the advertising or promoting of products or services to students and parents in the schools. And I reviewed my notes from our first reading, and there were no changes that I noted. This is replacing policy 1025 and 1030. Any additional comments or questions? Okay, then we'll move on to policies for review. Our first one is another transportation policy, policy 707, transportation of public school students. And the purpose of this policy is to provide for the transportation of students consistent with the requirements of law. There were some legislative language changes in it, and I'll pass it on to Simone to walk through anything that you would like in this policy.
Patty just informed me as well. These were just legislative changes that were put in here.
Under 7.
Redlined, yes, under 7. Would you like me to read them out loud, or no? Okay.
I had just a comment. We reviewed this last in November of 2024. And was that when we made the change to the, I couldn't remember if that was when we made the change for the criteria for the distance, where we changed elementary to 0.7 of a mile or more, middle 1 mile, high school 1 mile?
Yes.
Okay, okay,
I have a quick
I
question.
think it was.
yep, okay.
I was always curious, is that as the crow flies, or is that like on sidewalks?
That's a great question that comes up often when we have families that are challenging the 0.7, because we look at a Google map and they try and be consistent, and it's supposed to be the actual distance and not as the crow flies.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
It's an interesting way to put that, Member Michelson. Okay. Well, I know when we did make that change in 2024, it was very welcomed, and it was a great equity investment as well, so appreciate that. Any other?
I do too. We continue to hear a lot of positive comments about that from the community and from different families. And I think not having it as the crow flies is definitely better, particularly in Duluth, where we have sometimes winding roads and big hills and things, where as the crow flies, it might be considerably shorter than the actual walking or driving distance.
That's very true. Okay, great. So again, that's just for review. The next one for review is Policy 515, Protection and Privacy of Pupil Records. The school district recognizes its responsibility in regard to the collection, maintenance, and dissemination of pupil records and the protection of the privacy rights of students as provided in federal law and state statutes. We last reviewed and adopted it in May and June of 2023. It had a first and second reading then. And as you go through this policy, I hope you all noted the many legal references that are attached to it. So very much following state laws. So thank you, Jen, for being here.
Yeah, thank you. So this really is one that we want to follow what the MSBA has put out because of all the legal references. One of the things that we were missing is we had the federal definition of directory information, and Minnesota has additional definitions regarding that. And I think that had changed a couple of years ago during their legislative session. So we needed to update so that we were following the Minnesota regulations as well. So you'll see, I believe, okay, I got to keep scrolling. Sorry, I had to take a phone call real quick, and so now I'm not where I thought I was going to be. I can't remember. There's a whole section in here, and I'm just trying to find out where the red is on this. Is it there? Okay, D number. Oh, there it is. There it is. Yep, under definition. So Minnesota law prohibits additional things regarding student contact information and parent contact information. And so that is in their Minnesota statutes that you can see there. So that's what our addition really is about.
Member Michelson?
So beyond just the definition being updated in our policy, does that change anything at the site level? Is there education going out to people in the schools in case someone were to come in and ask for information?
So we have run this by the administrative team, so they're aware that it's coming here to the school board, and once it's adopted, we'll just make sure that there's a notice going out. The principals will really need to talk to like the counselors and the counselors' offices, and and clerical will need to know as well. So those pieces of information will go to the people that need to have it.
Great, thank you.
And we had made a revision in February of 2025.
Yes, because there were legislative changes at that time,
Yeah,
too. And I think, and at that time, too, we had the note on our policy here for us to follow the Minnesota guidelines as far as directory information. And MSBA now with the new legislation just made it more specific. Like it literally says Minnesota law prohibits sharing that as directory information. So it just made it cleaner and more specific. But yeah, those changes have been happening for the last 2 years.
That's great, thank you. Any other comments on it? This is obviously a very important policy. Member Lofold?
I'm just interested following up on, I think, Member Loeffler-Kemp's question too. And this just, I read it with the lens of a policy review and not the lens of like a coach that oftentimes has access to or wants access to all of this information, and how we, as coaches, follow the right guidelines for how we collect or use student data, parent information. Am I following this at all? Or know about it? We're all, mostly, a lot of coaches are outside the district.
Yeah, we give the policies to our ADs when it comes to coaches, and then we expect them to share information and to follow the guidelines that are within the district and within the Minnesota State High School League. So, I mean, that's really where we are at with, like, so we'll share it with our admin, our clerical, our counseling staff, and then the ADs will also have access to it as well.
Member Lowfoot, are you seeing a gap in that communication? Because if need be, we could make sure we circle back. Perhaps I'm seeking clarification. If
I wouldn't know that.
Okay, thank you. Just want to make sure.
I would just add, for discussion purposes, there was some discussions with other school boards about wanting more people to have access to this, and so that's kind of concerning, this data. So I'm glad we have a strong policy that's following state law, and maybe Member Lofeld's question has to do with, how are we educating people who aren't as closely tied to the school district because they're not working in the systems of the school district except as coaches. And so, we should make sure that's very clear so that this information doesn't get in the wrong hands.
I just think coaches collect it. It's on every standard form you give, so I don't know what they do.
Thank you, Jen. Okay, any other questions on this policy? Member Lofold, do you have your light on? No, okay. So we'll move on then to policy 429, employee recognition and/or memorials. And this is renumbering from 4160. The purpose of this policy is to establish appropriate and acceptable guidelines for families, friends, and/or community members who wish to establish a memorial or recognition for living or deceased employees. And really no change to it. It's renumbering. And you may remember last month we looked at the 4000 series, and so this is one of those policies that we brought back. So any comments or questions on this one?
No, I just wanted to say, to thank the board for considering this and ensuring that we kept this. I think this is a good example of where we're really going through all of our older policies and making sure that we're removing the 1000 series, but we're also being thoughtful and moving forward things that we might, from a cultural standpoint or an operational standpoint or student needs standpoint, that we're keeping that at the forefront when we're deciding what to contain and move forward.
Thank you. Okay, so then we'll move to informational, and we have 524.1 regulation, artificial intelligence tool use, and a reminder that regulations are just informational for us. We certainly.
Member Lowfoot, if I could, 1 second.
Oh.
Superintendent Magus, if you could you please mute your phone at this moment?
Okay, so just a reminder that with regulations, certainly we can provide input, but it really is for informational. And added to the other of our agenda is policy 524, which is the internet acceptable use and safety, which is right now being reviewed. We had reviewed it and passed it in 2022, but we included it just for informational purposes. It will be brought back to us at a future date. but felt that the regulation piece was important to bring right now. And so I'll turn it over to you both. And introduce yourself again, and I forgot to have you do that, Jen. Thank you.
Yep, I'm Greg Krieger, Director of Technology, and with me.
Jen Larva, Director of Secondary Education.
And what we're bringing forward to you this evening is some updates to true up the artificial intelligence regulation with the practices that we as a district know we need to move forward with to keep our students up to date with this evolving technology. We want to make sure that we don't have a regulation in place that stifles our educators' ability to use these tools and to educate students about these tools. And in order to make sure that we have a regulation in place that allows us to innovate and use AI in different ways and instruct students on how to use AI safely, we needed to update this regulation in a number of ways. And are bringing those to you this evening and are open to hearing any questions on the different edits here.
I would like to add, just this used to be a regulation just for staff, and I know we've had some conversations. Cindy Miller is our computer science lead, and we have some plans of opening AI up for students in I think it's following our February break. So we have a timeline, we have processes in place, and our regulation was not allowing us to have any student access, and so now this is allowing us, and it gives us some parameters around that as well.
Any questions? Okay, member Microsoft?
Yeah, thank you so much for the presentation. One just like typo-y kind of thing. In the data security portion, so that's the 1, 2, 3, fourth paragraph. The word staff members is crossed out and the words and students is added. And so I assume we wanted to only cross out members perhaps, so all staff and students.
You got it. That my eyes saw that as well when I was sitting back there
Yeah,
this evening.
that was the one typo. More for discussion, I'm really interested in hearing about the conversation or rationale that went into crossing out the majority of the definitions of the ethical use of AI, so in the third paragraph. And the reason I ask that is just if I was a parent or a student, looking at this and seeing that AI tools must be employed ethically and in adherence to the district's acceptable use policy, I might wonder what exactly is the district's definition of ethically. And those bullet points all kind of did a good job in summarizing what that would look like, obviously from a staff perspective. I know some of that information is included throughout the district's acceptable use policy, but isn't spelled out necessarily for AI specifically. So I just wanted to hear a little bit more about how we came to that decision.
I think what we were looking at the time we decided to put those edits in is that that AI is technology and it is covered by technology acceptable use policy. And those exact same ideas are something that we as a district would encapsulate into the overall use of technology and expect students and staff to adhere to regardless of what form of technology were being used. Things like being respectful of intellectual property, understanding what original work is, using good judgment. It's not at all specific to only AI. And so I didn't want to have a lengthier than needed regulation specific to this particular form of technology when those are completely valid ideas that are captured in the more broad use of technology as a whole.
I would like to talk a little bit about the bias, though. We really felt that it was important because there is bias, there's inherent bias in our AI and our AI tools. So we wanted to call that one particularly out because that isn't something that's necessarily in all technology tools. So we did want to keep that piece of that in there for us. I think the other piece about cleaning up this policy, it had been originally generated using AI, and so it really feels that way. And we didn't want it to feel that way necessarily as far as regulation, with all the headings and the bold, so we wanted it to read a little bit more like some of our other regulations that we have on policy.
Yeah, the way it was rewritten here is that it retains the most important bullet point underneath the ethical use category, that being the biases inherent in AI tools, and it keeps the intro sentence to introduce to that.
Thank you.
When this is rolled out to students in February, or after the February break, will there be some good discussion around kind of the ethics, that general policy, as well as?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's going to be part of any curriculum that would introduce AI tools to students and enhance their use of AI, without question. And the goal of the regulation document is not to include all elements of the curriculum that will be presented for this topic by any means, but we just want to concisely state some guardrails around it, so.
And we do have teachers coming in for half-day trainings with Cindy Miller coming up. I can't remember. I think it's next week sometime, so that they are prepared and able to deliver the training for students as well, and the messaging that we would like to have with students. So there will be some consistency in how it is delivered to students through the courses that we've identified.
Okay, thank you. Member Michael.
And just really quickly, and I apologize if I didn't catch it the first time, you said that Cindy Miller did review the changes that are being proposed here.
Yeah, we have a committee of us that work on AI moving forward. Cindy Miller is one of them. Julie Stauber, our MTSS academic coordinator in curriculum instruction, and Dale Uzelman, myself, Brenda, Greg. I think that's it. Yeah, so we've had lots of conversations. We've been doing all the planning around it. So she definitely was a big part of what we're doing when we're making the adjustments.
Great, thank you so much, and thanks to all the committee members who are part of all this process.
Thank you. Okay, don't see any other questions. Look forward to when the Policy 524 comes in front of us in the future. And thank you for getting this to us in a way that is timely for the work that you're doing. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Okay.
Superintendent Magus?
Oh,
No, I just wanted to say thanks to the board and for the administration for being forward-thinking and what we're putting together here. I know that district philosophy and just philosophy and education of how we use AI is changing, and I think it's important that we have policies and procedures, and regulations like this to make sure that we're not opening up things like the Wild West, but we're also acknowledging that artificial intelligence is something that we need to consider for how we instruct and using it with ethical use. So thanks to the team and thanks to the board for considering.
thank you. Good night. Okay, we will then move on to policies for consideration or deletion. And just again, we've every month gone through a different set of series, and we're in the 5,000 series. And so we will have Patty Paquette kind of walk us through this series like we've been doing the last few months.
Thank you. So our first policy in this series is policy 5015, ages of compulsory attendance. When I did research on this policy MSBA said a possible cross-reference is 607, which was adopted in April of 18. But I also noticed that it is definitely covered in policy 503 and 503R, which were both adopted in January of 2025. So I recommend that we delete this policy. The next one, unless anyone has any comments about that?
No, I was just going to clarify for the 5,000 series is about students, so as we go through there, that's the focus of it.
Yes.
Thank you.
So the next policy in this series is 5020, readmission of students from correctional institutions. This one needs more research. I didn't have enough information on this one to make a educated recommendation. So I think we're going to hold on to that one and do more research before we go further. The next,
Patty,
yeah,
I would say that there is some state statute that guides that process. So
Okay.
as that research goes on, just FYI on that.
that'd be great. I'll have you share them with me.
Sure.
That'd be great. Then, any other comments on that one? Our next policy.
Got your light off, Member Michelson. Okay, go ahead.
Our next policy for consideration is 5022, policy on staff notification of violent students. MSBA listed a possible reference of policy 529, which we have not adopted yet. We are currently working on that policy, so I would say at this time, we're just going to wait and replace and delete it when we're ready to bring 529 forward. Our next policy on the list is policy 5030, student attendance accounting. This is another one that I need to do more research on. And if anyone has done research and has information to share with me, please feel free to bring that forward.
I'm sorry, you faded out for a second. Can you repeat that?
I was just saying that this is a policy that I need to do more research on, and I was asking, because I know sometimes school board members have done their own research, and if they had information to share with me, that I would welcome that.
I was just going to comment on it, then I'll open it up, that I would assume there is some guidance from MDE on that collection from previous discussions we've had, so. Member Michelson?
And the way I read this is more just making sure that we have attendance records and that's housed by the Business and Finance Department to report to MDE for appointment of aid and collection tuition. Some of that is included in 503, which just talks about student attendance. Doesn't necessarily like direct it towards like the financial portions of it, but it does say that we must keep accurate attendance records. So some of it's there.
Yeah, so I was trying to determine, because I couldn't find a Minnesota state statute related to it, so I didn't know if it was necessarily something that has to be in policy, but we obviously do that because that is how our funding comes to us. So I'll look into that more, and then we'll revisit that one. Our next one is 5040, transfers within the school district. And then it has a regulation, 5040R, student transfers. I know we have a team currently working on these policies to get them updated. So at this time, we're going to keep them. And then once the updates are ready to move forward in the next few months, we'll bring those at that time and delete these when we bring our revisions. The next policy is 5042, which is open enrollment. And we adopted 509 in 2023, and so I think this one was just missed as a deletion, so I recommend deleting it at this time. The next one is 5065, awards for achievement. I couldn't really find a lot of information on this. To me, it seemed kind of antiquated, so I'm recommending deleting it unless anyone has any other suggestions.
Well, I just, I didn't do any homework on this one, but I did note that we reviewed it last in 2020, and that's not too long ago, so I guess I would like it reviewed again, what changes we made at that time.
I can do more research on that one and bring that one back. Okay, so our next policy is 5070, graduations, diplomas, and certificates. MSBA listed as, I'm sorry,
Excuse me, I was,
She caught it.
I thought that, I'm sorry, I thought that was the one we were on, so,
oh, we were on 5065, awards of achievement.
okay.
And that one was reviewed in 2025, excuse me, 2005.
5, yeah.
Okay.
Back to that rewards for achievement, I was curious, does like our PBIS work, somehow mention rewards and that kind of a thing? It seems like a very site-specific, like, topic. And so I just wasn't sure if I personally, when I first read it, I thought it was outdated, and I thought it was something that like each site can kind of determine what they would want to do based on their positive behavior interventions and support program and that kind of a thing. So I was comfortable deleting it, but I understand if others want to continue to dive in and make sure that our practice matches policy and policy matches the practice.
So we're going to do more research on that, right?
Yeah,
More research?
Okay.
Okay.
thank you.
Yep. Then our next one is 5070, graduations, diplomas, and certificates. MSBA listed as a possible cross-reference of 617, which we have not adopted yet, so I recommend keeping this policy until we're ready to bring that one forth and then delete it at that time. Our next policy is 5075, Area Learning Center. MSBA listed as a possible cross-reference 605, which we have not adopted yet. And again, I encourage us to keep this one and delete it when we're ready to bring 605 forward. Our next one is 5080, Student Expression of Opinion. MSBA listed a possible cross-reference of 512. I have a note here, I must have done research on this one a while ago because I had second reading of that in August. And then 515, which we just went over here, which was adopted in 2025. So I think when we did adopt 512, this might have just been missed as a deletion, so I'm recommending to delete this one, excuse me.
Member Michael?
I agree. There's one statement in there, though, towards the end, any outside person who interferes with the normal functioning of the school or engages in unauthorized activity on property shall be asked to leave if they refuse to do so, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I wasn't sure if that language was included in any of our other policies or if it needs to be. I noted that MSBA has a model policy 903, which is titled Visitors to School District Buildings and Sites. That does include that, like that authority that we have, but we don't have that one in place yet.
We're
So I just
close.
wanted to make sure that we were covered
Yeah.
in another policy and or regulation that, which I think is mostly common sense, that we're allowed to ask people to leave if they're not acting in the best interest of our schools and but I just wanted to make sure that we have that somewhere. Feel
So would the
comfortable.
committee feel more comfortable of us waiting to delete this till 903 comes forward?
Yes, I would feel more comfortable.
Okay.
Thank you.
Superintendent Magus?
So is the suggestion that we adopt the model policy from MSBA before we delete this one?
Correct.
I concur with that, and I was listening and just thinking that we should definitely do that. Thanks.
Yeah, and we've been in the process of updating getting 903 ready to come forward. Lexi was lead and then she left, and now we have a new safety coordinator, so that'll get back on track. Okay, our next policy is 5090, use of cell phones, digital imaging devices, and other personal electronic devices. This is currently addressed in the student handbook. I do suggest that we keep it right now, and when 524 is coming forward, we can either renumber it to match that, or we can Yeah, I have a couple notes, but I'm saying keep it now because it is in our student handbook, but then we can determine when, because there's other policies too that relate to the 524 that will be coming forward in the next couple months, and we can determine exactly how it should be at that point.
And I would just add, when the committee's looking at 524, just, I know, as we all know, a number of school districts are adopting policies right now on this, and that we really look at, again, all the best practices out there on this. And
Definitely, yeah, they will do that.
Member Michaelsell?
I know MSBA also has a model policy 534.5 titled Personal Electronic Communication Devices that we don't yet have in place. Although I feel like at some of our schools, we do have some regulations around cell phone use already. But if we wanted to enshrine that in policy, that might be another good foundation to get that conversation started.
Sounds good. Our next policy for consideration of deletion is 5095, student driving and parking vehicles at school. MSBA listed a possible cross-reference of 527, which we haven't adopted yet, so I recommend we keep this and delete it when we replace it with 527. Our next policy is 5105, student-generated school funds. MSBA listed a possible cross-reference of 713, which we haven't adopted yet. So same thing, I recommend we keep this and delete it when we bring 713 forward for adoption. Policy number 5110, married students and pregnant students. MSBA listed a possible cross-reference of 528, which we haven't adopted yet. So again, keep it, bring 528 forward and delete it at that time. Policy number 5120, emergency procedures for bodily injuries. This has now been converted as a part of our safety protocol, and we actually, our crisis emergency team, our emergency operations team, created a whole flow chart with advice from I think some public relations around the state helped with that, and other entities helped with developing a very concise guideline of what to do in the event of a bodily injury. And so that will be a part of our safety plan now. And so it was recommended that we do not need to have that in policy. So I recommend we delete it. Okay. Our next one, 5125, reporting suspected sexual abuse, physical abuse, and neglect. A possible reference for this policy is 414, recommended by MSBA. We haven't adopted that policy yet, so we will keep this and recommend this for deletion when we're ready to bring 414 forward. And it looks like we have a regulation tied to that too, so we will review them both at the same time. The next one is 5135, physical examinations. I was trying to find information about this one, and I would find information about physical examinations, but not really what the policy was talking about. So I think I would need to do more research on this one as well.
Is there something tied to Minnesota School Board, or Minnesota State High School League?
I would have to look into that. That's a good recommendation for the research.
Yeah, this is really antiquated.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we're going to keep until we, okay.
Get a more definitive answer there. So then our last one is 5150, chemical use, abuse, and dependency. A possible cross-reference for this one is 417. We have not adopted that one yet. And so, yeah, I recommend keeping it and deleting this when we're ready to come forward with 417. And then I just have a little note here that 417 covers both students and staff in that policy related to chemical use, abuse, and dependency. And then that concludes our 5,000 series.
Any questions on this last policy? Okay, okay. Okay, thank you so much for all that work, and just again, for our board meeting, a listing will be helpful, just follow up, even though most of this is going to be keeping, but that would be helpful. Any other questions, board members? Okay. The last thing I would just say is our January meeting is scheduled for January 15th. That's when we will be at the school board conference. And so Patty will be putting out some potential dates to change it to, being January is just really kind of a tight month for meetings with MLK holiday and our conference and other things. So Superintendent Magus?
Yes, I just want to say, that, with the organizational meeting coming and such, there is some possibility that the makeup of this committee might change. But I just wanted to take a moment, since this is potentially the last time with this group, to say that this is one of the most productive years we've ever had with policy work. We've always done good policy work, but just seeing the way this group has worked to diligently go through so many policies and move on, I just wanted to say thank you so much, and also just acknowledge the work of this group and of Patty and the rest of the team for taking all this on this year.
Yep, thank you. Thank you so much, and thank you so much for also and express to all of our staff that is spending time on these policies and bringing the recommendations forward, and that is why we've been able to get through so many. So thank you. Okay. Okay. All of this will be on the consent agenda at our December 16th meeting. Thank you.